What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. Dean 7904. If you want to get all technical, it's 2 hours of nonstop MLB DFS conversation, taking you all the way up the lock. Crunch time coming in about an hour and change. You got, one of the greatest DFS players / producers / analyst, TJ Zwarych. TJ from Saskatoon. What's up, TJ? There he is, popping in. He's going to be hosting Crunch Time in about an hour and change with Dave Potts, CheeseIsGood, as well as Erik Beimfohr. You got myself and Chop on a Film Friday. We can go ahead and drop that first clue. Always reward the people that show up on time. You know how this works at Film Friday. You got to tell me what film I'm talking about. 5 individual clues drop throughout the show. Be the first to bink it. Only one guess per clue drop. Of course, those clues are only official in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. First clue dropping now is Rescue. What's up, Chopper? How are things? Happy Friday. We doing all right?
What up? What up, dog? Yeah, it's a Friday. Yeah, ready to rock and roll here. Got a big slate of games. I mean, a lot of people don't really care, but my Rockets are in an elimination game tonight, so I'll be watching that. Although, a lot of people are in the DFS world are more tuned into baseball right now. I mean, that's okay. I don't mind that. But I'm ready for that.
Is movie night canceled, or are you just going to be watching more TV tonight? How does that work?
No, I'll try to get the movie in to where I'll be able to watch the fourth quarter for sure. And Oh, you don't watch all 4 quarters in the playoffs. Well, the thing about basketball, when it's the Rockets, I usually do. Even though I've said it before, and I'll keep on saying it. Typically, you don't even have to watch 3.5 quarters. Everything is decided in the last 6 minutes, right? Like almost all the time. If it's not decided in the last 6 minutes, then the game was no good to start with. Then the Rockets were up by 30 at halftime. Like Game 4 or Game 5. I mean, like otherwise, if it's a good game, nothing is decided. Like a team will go up by 8. Oh, well, big shocker, a timeout, and then we're going to go on a 7-0 run the other way and get it back to 1, and then they're going to go up by 4. Like, that's just the way NBA is in good games. So you really don't have to. But with the Rockets, I usually do. But
some people would say that the game's already decided before it even starts.
Maybe.
Some people would say
decided before it starts, and that's the draft lottery. We'll see how that plays out, though. But
is that tonight?
No, that's probably a couple weeks away, a week away or so.
Okay.
Next round of games, they'll do it before a game. But I don't know, man. Tonight I'll do movie night and watch the last part of the game. Hopefully it's still a game by then and it's a good game.
Do we have a movie selected?
Yeah, I was browsing today and like I had something in my back pocket. You told me the one on HBO Max that was Nicole Kidman movie was. So I had that one.
That's pretty trippy.
I was like, that'll be the if there's nothing new out tonight, then that's the one I'll watch. But then I was perusing on Friday mornings like I do, and I found one that was just kind of fresh out of the theater that I
Black Bag.
Do what?
Is it Black Bag, which is debuting now on Peacock?
What is Black Bag?
It's a Soderbergh movie. It's supposed to be really good. I haven't seen it, but I hear it's good.
Really?
I've heard good things.
Huh. I was a little disappointed by it. I'm in the minority there. Like, it certainly wasn't bad, but I just went in with very high expectations because of what I heard, and they didn't meet the high expectations. I thought it was just like fine to good.
TJ, did you see Baby Girl? Does TJ have a Baby Girl take?
I haven't.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been busy watching a lot of movies lately, and my 3 favorite movies of 2025 so far I've seen within the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Follow-up question.
Sinners number 1.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts number 2, which I just saw last night. I'll also be breaking that one down on the Agents of Fandom YouTube channel later tonight and unveiling my secret surprise interview that I'm finally allowed to talk about. The reason I was away is I was in Toronto interviewing Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And so shout out to all our Seinfeld fans because she is one of the main characters in the new Marvel movie. And
hopefully she was great. Tell me she was great. She seems delightful.
Absolutely incredibly delightful. Such a nice person. She was a little flustered because her flight was delayed an hour and a half. And then as soon as it was time to actually talk to us, the common people. She was just like so kind and so nice. So that was really great. Interview drops tonight, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome. All right, there you go. We got the movie stuff out of the way.
Well, we actually
the chat was
didn't,
asked,
Dean.
Oh, what movie you're actually watching? Yeah, that's right.
Assumed it was Black Bag, which, by the way, I looked at that, and that's in queue. But no, I'm trying to find it now, man. It just came out, just dropped on. It might have been Paramount.
Oh, Simple Favor 2, the sequel to Simple Favor on Amazon.
No, I need to see the first one before I can see the second one.
It's fun.
Okay, man, I can't even, for the life of me, I can't find it now. Hold on, let me Google it because I've seen it.
You saw Havoc last week, right?
Okay, I saw Havoc last week. So I'm perusing around all the sites and seeing what just dropped that just came out of the theater that I might be interested in. Last Breath with Woody Harrelson. I saw the clips of that when it was in the theater, and I was like, that looks interesting. I won't go to the theater and see it, but when it starts streaming, I'll watch it. And sure enough, must have just dropped like last night or today. So I'll be watching Last Breath with Woody Harrelson tonight as the movie night.
All right. I don't think I'm aware of it, so I'll check it out. It has really good reviews for what it's worth. Okay. 2 hours still. 2 hours of MLB DFS conversation starting now. Hey, hit that like button if you guys are hanging out in the chat. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. I see even on his day off, producer Steve is hanging out. TJ, producer extraordinaire, I assume that Spidey is going to be hanging out as well. So Spidey bombs every 50 likes. I don't want to speak for TJ. I'm sure he'll confirm or deny.
Yes, sir.
Chat, right here.
Likes.
There they are. Of course, we got Choppers Knockers. We have the BBP suggestion of the day. Maybe we'll drop the Dean's Dongs as well. We'll see. We're feeling frisky. But yeah, it's a big boy slate today, Chop. There's a lot of good offenses out there. There's a lot of good pitchers out there. I think this slate kind of sort of has everything. No Butler for the Athletics was kind of a bummer because they're probably my favorite team on the board, all things considered. We'll dive in and discuss. No Mike Trout for the Angels. He hit the IL, so that makes that Angels lineup, of course, significantly weaker and taking on the best pitcher one of the best pitchers of baseball. I shouldn't say that definitively, but Tarek Skubal certainly on the Family Feud board. You don't necessarily have to get there. And then we have a super, super chalky Robbie Ray. If there's ever a setup, Robbie Ray at home against the putrid Rockies. But, as Dave wrote in his article today, he'll talk about it later on. Ray isn't necessarily pitching against whoever's standing in that box. He's basically pitching against himself and pitching against the strike zone half the time. But he's going to be almost a minus 300 favorite. The Giants taking on the Rockies. Senzatella towing the rubber for Colorado. The Giants have a 5-team total at home, which seems very rare. I don't think it happens very often, but Senzatella, I suppose, will get that out of you. Well, he's not completely horrific, but, not necessarily anybody we're afraid of course. Weather-wise, I dropped the weather stuff, Ross weather article in chat. Nothing terribly alarming. I think your standard sort of Atlanta pop-ups, I want to say it was yellow or green yellow, straight yellow in Atlanta, straight yellow in Boston as well, yellow-green for St. Louis, green for the White Sox. I'll drop it in the chat once again in case you guys are just showing up and you missed it. We also have a 4K pitcher who's once upon a time was a prospect and a number one pick for I can't remember who picked him, but he's bounced around a couple times. He was traded in the big Matt Chapman trade a couple years ago with the Athletics. Now he's throwing baseballs. What a great landing spot in Miami against the terrible Marlins. Gunnar Hoglund is a person who's throwing baseballs, and he's 4K. He's 4K on DK, mostly stretched out as well. I don't know how much we need him, but I think he's certainly somebody. If you want to tap in, if you want to go, get yourself some Ohtani, you want to get yourself some Judge, you want to get yourself some Tucker, two of those hitters. That's one of the ways to do so. I like this slate a lot, Chop. I've been kind of digging in. I'm playing some MME stuff on FanDuel just for funsies. I'm going to be hand building my stuff on DK like I always do. How do you feeling? General assessment, overview. Do we like this slate? 12 games, I believe it is.
Yeah, big slate. I mean, I like it. I think there's plenty of pitching up top. that's solid. And like you said, a salary saver we'll talk about in a minute. So you got all varieties of pitching and the hitting. There's a couple of spots I really want to attack. And it's a little precursor to the tier board, but don't be surprised on the tier board today when you see a lot of 2s and 4s out of me. Like, I like a lot of teams up near the top, just not quite in the number 1 category, but also there's a lot of teams down there in that number 4 category, which is going to be like teams I really don't want a lot of. So it pretty much, I guess by those standards, I enjoy the slate. That means I have definitive thoughts on, if everybody lands in the tier 3, then that means you're kind of like on the fence about everything. I'm pretty
take a stand.
Yeah, I like certain teams and I don't like the others, and then that kind of makes it a good slate from that perspective.
All right, not on our slate, but apparently the Nats and the Reds are delayed right now through weather, but we don't care about that. We're not talking about it. That's 6:10 on the East Coast. Not something that's in our conversation. All right, Chop, 12 gamer. Again, I think the big talking point from the start is Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray coming in at 37% currently on DK. He walks too many hitters. He just walks everybody. He has not been as sharp as he has been historically, even when he's not walking guys. 14.2% as far as the walks. The Ks are 24.6%. The swinging strikes 13%. That's pretty good. A lot of fly balls protected in that ballpark theoretically, and also facing Colorado. So I understand why he's projecting really well. I imagine he's going to wear his tight pants. He's going to have his tight pants on, and I don't know how that changes things, but that's just that's all kind of popped in my head. He does have tight pants. I don't know if you know that's his thing. Maybe he should loosen the pants up. He'll hit the strike zone a few more times. But Robbie Ray stance. What do you got for me, Chop? I think that's a good starting point.
Man, I'm on the fence about. I mean, I gotta play him. You gotta play him against Colorado. You gotta play him. But if there was ever one guy that could blow up, himself in a pitcher's ballpark with pitcher's weather against arguably the worst offense in baseball, it's Robbie Ray. He's there. So I gotta play him. We'll get to the tier boards in a minute, but little spoiler alert, I don't like Colorado, even though, boy, you want to talk about leverage. This is the leverage spot for them. But I definitely want to play some Robbie Ray more than that. And, Dean, also got your little trivia here for you, Dean. I want you to get you some trivia real quick.
Astros trivia?
It is Astros trivia today.
This is not going to go well for me.
On this day in 2022, Ryan Stanek started a streak in which he threw 27 consecutive scoreless innings, the second longest by a reliever in Astros history. Who had the longer scoreless streak by a reliever in Astros history? Do you need a clue, Dean?
Is it Billy Wagner?
It is not.
I might need a clue.
Okay. He was a closer. He was one of the best closers in Astros history.
Dotel?
Who?
Wasn't Dotel an Astro at some point?
Closer. I don't think Dotel was ever a closer. I think Dotel was in the same bullpen with Brad Lidge, in fact. Oh, and I might have just spoiled it, but maybe not. But it is a former Astros closer.
Did he give him like a 700-foot homer at the Albert Pujols, and that's still like traveling?
It was not Brad Lidge. I wasn't going to spoil it like that, but think 80s closer.
The 80s, closers weren't as prevalent. They
were. They were.
Well, is it somebody I would know?
I mean, probably not if you're not an Astros fan, but he's certainly made his mark in Astros history as a reliever. I don't
think I know it.
Dave Smith, the old nasty Dave. You don't remember Dave Smith? Boy, he was good. He was good back in the day.
That sounds like a made-up name, Dave Smith. I don't believe that person exists.
Man, I know there's people in chat who remember Dave. Dave Smith, Mike Scott, Dickie Thon, those Astros teams.
Remember Dickie Thon? Funny enough.
Boy, I'm not gonna lie. I thought Dickie Thon was the best ever, man.
Mustache, right?
I love Diggy. I thought he was going to be the next biggest thing ever. And then one day, and I was watching that game. I was just a little bitty kid, but I remember seeing Diggy Thon get plucked in the eye with a fastball. He just never came. He just never recovered, man. He just never came back from it. That was it.
That was the guy for the Red Sox, like in the 30s or something like that. It's like the phenom rookie who got hit in the face, and that ended his career as well. I can't think of the guy's name, but he barely even had a shot. But supposedly he was like the second coming. It just never happened. Well, I failed you. I'm sorry, Chop. Next time we'll get back there, I suppose. But yeah,
yeah, no, I was just going to say, so we were circling back to Robbie Ray. It's a bad offense, and so I'm going to play. You got to be more inclined to play Ray, even though, like, if you're in the flagship GPPs where you're facing a whole lot of other teams, sure, you could go fade Ray, stack Colorado, and see if some magic can happen. But Colorado's so bad on offense. But you know what? It's crazy, and it's early in the season, Dean. So I know it's small sample, but what crazy I uncovered today. Because when I looked last week, this was not the case. By the numbers, by the runs per game, the worst offense in Major League Baseball is not Colorado.
Texas?
It's Texas. How is Texas, with that big ass payroll and all those
Jake Berger is one reason.
All those good young players they were supposed to have come up to the pipeline with the
Jock Jams?
All those guys, yeah, the veterans, and then the Seagers and stuff, and they score the least amount of runs per game in Major League Baseball. I was surprised by that. I was taking a shot, but I mean, suffice to say, more than likely, Colorado is probably the worst offense in baseball all around. Especially when we start talking about on the road,
White Sox maybe, but yeah,
at least they got Luis Robert in the middle, and he can, if he's not striking out, he can hit home runs. But
he's doing things now. He's woken up. He's stealing bases.
Yeah, But Colorado's bad, so I'd be more inclined to play Ray, than anything else.
All right. What else is worth? Oh, by the way, we just got the Angels lineup. There's was Adele not in, or he was in? You want him in, ideally. If you're playing some skewball, he's not in there. Neto, Shanwell, Soler, Ward, Ohapi, d'Arnaud. So you got both catchers, Ohapi and d'Arnaud. Rengifo, Paris. Remember Paris had like a week where he was spectacular? And then there's Anderson also cracking the lineup there for the Angels. No Adele, which I was kind of hoping he'd be in there because I wanted to grab a couple strikeouts. I can't believe Tim Anderson's still doing his thing, but good for him. It's been a tough fall off for him. Ever since he hit that walk-off homer in the Field of Dreams game, I think that was basically his last moment. That was his last thing he's done, which was awesome against the Yankees. But all right. I mean, Brewster's team's playing the movie game, by the way, in chat. I guess he can play along, sure. It is not Tropic Thunder.
Tim Anderson not only fell off the map fantasy-wise, not fantasy, but just his skill set in baseball fell off so bad, so fast.
Yep.
But that's not even the worst part of what he'll be known for in his career now. He'll always be known now for getting literally wobbled and KO'd almost by Jose Ramirez. That'll be his lasting legacy in baseball, sadly enough.
He had a good run, though. He had a good 7 or 8, 9 years or so, whatever it was. A pretty positive player. And the Marlins signed him, and I think he was the worst player in baseball last year, statistically, give or take. If you go through the advanced stuff, he's still cashing those checks, so good for him. All right. I mentioned Skewball, Chop. Skewball, dating back to last season, biggest K rates, lowest Sierra against the Angels, no Mike Trout. And that's, the Angels without Mike Trout is like, Arby's without their roast beef. You know what I mean? What's left at this point? You're an Arby's guy, Chop? I don't know. I can see you being an Arby's fan. 37% again for Ray.
I think I've had Arby's one time in my life, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're not missing out. You're fine. I'm sure there can be some people are going to be angry in chat, some Arby's stands, but overall, yeah. And then your guy Framber. We know about Framber taking on the White Sox. Not the biggest K rate, of course, but feels really well positioned to drop the QS, if nothing else, against those White Sox. Good pitching weather there. Let me go ahead and give that a refresh. Last I saw, it's expected to be pretty cool in Chicago. By the way, we have the fire emoji in Baltimore. Just a heads up on that, because it's going to be 88. The temps are cranked up to 88 in Baltimore. I didn't see that earlier today. I feel like that might have changed. Get excited about the Orioles. Let's see. Yeah, it is going to be in the 40s in Chicago. So pretty good pitching weather there. Max Fried, awesome pitcher. Historically great in the ground ball guy as well. Taking on the Tampa team. No Lau, which is kind of peculiar. They pretty much always play him against righties. This seems like a ballpark that's suitable for him. He's taking a seat today. Wu taking on those terrible Rangers. At least terrible so far. We do expect that to rebound. But Yamamoto, as far as arm quality, one of the best pitchers on this slate for sure. Tougher matchup there in Atlanta, but certainly he can get through them. And then the 4K cheapie in Hogland. Don't know how much we need him. He's there, though, if you really want to open things up as far as the offense. Both Holmes guys are throwing baseballs. I guess they're sort of in play on the fringe. Don't hate either one, but probably not getting there. Well, Grant Holmes, I'm probably not. No, Grant Holmes is a no for me. Yeah, I shouldn't say. Yeah, the walk rate and facing the Dodgers, that's a no-go for me. But the Clay Holmes is at least in the conversation amongst players I would consider rostering. And then there's Joe Ryan taking on Boston, which is not the best ballpark in the world, but there is some upside when you catch him on the right game. Sort through the rest. How are we prioritizing the arms here?
Yeah, I think for me, it's pretty clear Skubal is the top option for me. You got to pay for him, but like a lineup without Trout, that it just isn't very good anyway. I think Skubal is my top option, like hands down. Like he's in a tier of his own. And that's kind of where maybe that 4K guy comes in, because I don't mind him. I don't like 4K. It's all about the value you can rip out of your players, and value means a lot more in basketball and even football a little bit. Doesn't mean as much in baseball, because there's such a binary outcome. Like, all right, it's either you're gonna do this on offense, or you're either gonna hit a home run or you're not, or things like that. So, but 4K for a pitcher, if he can grind you out 15 or 16 points and go 4 times that money, like that's not bad. So that could help you play Skubal if you want to. But then we take a tier down, and it's Framber. I think Framber's in a good spot. He hasn't pitched poorly this year. He gets himself into trouble early in games, and then he kind of gets out of it. And if he does, he might allow a run or two if he's really not on his game early, and then he'll settle down. But a lot of times he'll get in there early, jam up the bases, and throw a lot of pitches, and that kind of hurts him in the long run, keeping him in the game. So maybe he can get through early against this White Sox team, which isn't very good, and that helps him. Because every once in a while he drops a gem where he goes 9 innings and throws 80 pitches, right, and complete games somebody. And so maybe that's tonight. So I'm going to keep him. I like Framber as my next option. Like you said, Clay Holmes to me is definitely in play. I like what they're doing with him in New York as the starter and his mix of pitches. And St. Louis, I'm not particularly impressed by. And we talked about Robbie Ray and what you could do with him. He's going to be one of those tipping points on the slate. And the last guy I'll mention as a guy I'm going to play and feel good about is Max Fried. I think Max Fried has a lot of potential tonight against Tampa. I don't think that Tampa lineup is like all that scary to me, even though they've put up some big numbers. But they put up some big numbers. I have to look it up and see if it's true. But it's felt like they've hit better at home than on the road in their Mickey Mouse ballpark that they're playing in this year. I don't know that to be the case, but
it's a duplicate ballpark. It's the same exact ballpark, and as it is as far as the dimensions in New York. And I did goof, by the way. Thank you, Chad, corrected me. Yeah, Max Fried is a lefty, so I don't know why in my brain I was thinking that Lau was going to play. But yeah, that makes a ton of sense for him to sit. They can only get so right-handed, by the way. They have, still 3 lefties in there? And Aranda, Misner, and the speedster Simpson leading off as well, who obviously, if he gets on, he can be a pest. But, stealing first is the tricky part for him. Let me go ahead and drop that second clue, by the way, for today's Film Friday. Chop, it is not Argo, but Argo is a very good guess. That's a very good guess. It is not Argo. That is a rescue movie. By the way, we have the first Spidey Bomb also scrolling. Shout out to producer TJ. When we get to 75 likes, the second one will pop up on the screen. I believe the first one was Ben Rice. Drizzle Chop is the second clue. Rescue and drizzle. That is our first 2 clues. Jump in the Discord. Give me the answer. It is not the Bourne Identity. I see Stress is saying Castaway. It's not Castaway, but I see what you're doing. Or Captain Ron. Or Baywatch. Baywatch is a good guess. It's not Seven or Saving Private Ryan. Again, all good guesses that make sense, at least for that first clue.
One day we should do sequels. Best and worst sequels. I'd say Saving Private Ryan had one of the better sequels ever.
What was it called?
Saving Ryan's Privates.
Oh, I stepped right in that one. If they edited that one for television, how long do you think they'd get? Like 12 minutes out of it or something like that? I don't know. I didn't see it officially.
Very good script.
Yeah. Weekend at Bernie's 2 would be the worst sequel of all time. Pretty sure is Weekend at Bernie's 2. I don't know. Chat, let me know what is the worst sequel of all time that you've seen. Besides, did you got one, Chop, or we could save it for the board? We'll do it again. We'll do it later on at some point. What pops up in the top of the head? Best worst sequel. Did something get inspired in your head, or just
you asking me?
Yeah.
Just want to pop in to say that I bet you if you made like top 10 to 20 list, a large portion of these would be superhero movie sequels, because there are a lot of really good ones.
I agree with them.
I thought you were going to say bad ones. There's a lot of bad ones too, right?
Captain America, Winter Soldier, a lot of really good sequels.
Yeah, I mean, Godfather is probably number 1, just officially. I don't. Godfather 2 is the answer.
I did watch that, Dean. I saw that for the first time, like maybe a year ago. Yeah, so I waited a long time, and then I thought it was interesting. Probably withstood the test of time. It wasn't the greatest thing. It took place so long ago, but it was all right. It wasn't bad.
Crazy Coop says Aliens or Terminator 2. Okay, I hear you. Esteban says we need a new Back to the Future movie. We do not need that. The first 2 are perfect. We don't need a new one. They're going to do it. But we don't. Speed 2 definitely was trash as well.
I didn't get to meet him, but last week I was at the Calgary Expo, and Michael J. Fox was there, Christopher Lloyd was there, and I think like 2 or 3 other cast members too.
Oh yeah, just the best. Back to the Future. They're going to do it, right, Chop? They're going to ruin all our childhood. They have to. It's a license to print money. That's what's happening right now. They're remaking everything.
Out of ideas. Yeah. Nobody's creative anymore. Actually, when you listen to, go ahead, TJ.
You guys excited for Happy Gilmore too?
Oof, I don't know, man.
I'll watch it. I'm not excited for it. I didn't ask for it, but I'll give it 2 hours.
You know what? That one kind of reminds me of Zoolander 2. They did Zoolander, and for so many years, that was like peak comedy to me. And then they did Zoolander 2 for some reason, like a decade and a half, 2 decades later. I don't even think I watched it. I just didn't want to see it. Zoolander was good. Leave it like that, It's
fast,
Probably same with Happy Gilmore. Just leave it. It was great. I don't really need to. But I've heard like Matt Damon and people talk about the lack of creative or the safety net in Hollywood, and how nobody wants to write any more certain material because they just want to play it safe, and remaking these movies is safe to them. So I agree with all that.
Dodgeball, another Dodgeball is coming out too, and again, also like 15 years later, whatever it is, I'll watch it, but like, I don't know, maybe it'll be good. I like the original. The original is pretty fun, but I never thought like, hey, you know what they should remake or have a sequel to? Dodgeball. Do you know the 5 Ds in Dodgeball, Chop?
I do not.
Dip, duck, dive, dodge, and dip. You're not aware of this, or is it dodge? I think it's dodge twice. Anything else as far as pitchers that we want to focus on? You mentioned like in Framber, we talked about playing and I'm right there with you, by the way. I'm just playing some Screwball. I don't care. I know it's gonna be popular, but the floor and pitchers, and there can always be a disaster start. The absence of Trout feel really, really good about Screwball today. I think Yamamoto is a really interesting pivot, especially like on FanDuel, where you're only running out 1. I like Fried as well, like you said. Don't mind Framber. I'm trying to get away from Robbie Ray. I'm trying to get away from him just because of his volatility and how popular he's going to be. The old Robbie Ray rule. Dave Potts will be coming on in a few minutes, a half hour or so, talking about the Robbie Ray rule. But I understand why. I understand why he's hitting a bunch of stuff. But when I'm hand building, I'm trying not to play him. And if my lineup looks like too chalky, I just won't play Ray. That's kind of like the thought process there.
You're hand building, Dean. You ought to be able to easily get away from Robbie Ray hand build. Like when you're with the optimizer, boy, you really got to go out of the way with an optimizer or a lineup builder. You really got to go out of your way to make sure you don't play Robbie Ray or you're way underweight because it really wants to jam it. But when you're hand building, I think that's pretty easy, Dean, because his upside, I guess if you want to say it, his upside is not that much better, if better at all, than Framber, who's in the same price range, Clay Holmes, who's in the same price range, and a couple other guys you could even throw in there. So I think you could easily sub him out, and his floor is so much lower than a lot of those guys. Hand building, you ought to be it. Yeah, I agree. But I mentioned the guys I mentioned. The guys I did mention, I probably won't play tonight, which is like you said, Yamamoto, probably won't play him. Sonny Grace, fine, won't play him. Don't like that matchup, actually. Joe Ryan, fine, but I'm not going to play him. I like the other guy. Brian Wu, I think you could even play. Not going to play him. Chris Bassett's had a good year. Striking out guys. Not going to play him.
30%. I don't believe that, but that's what it is.
I think he's changed some things up. It'll balance out a little bit, but he did change some things up. And Cleveland's certainly not a juggernaut. But, I mean, all those guys are playable. Just I've got my list at those 5 or 6 guys I mentioned. That's where I'm sticking at. And that's where we're going to be.
By the way, Ramon Urias was just scratched, and I think I have him in some FanDuel lineups as a punt. Updated lineup for Baltimore: Mullins, Henderson, Rushman, O'Hearn, Mountcastle, Holiday, Loriano, Kierstead, and Rivera. I think Rivera was the one that stuck in there in the 9-hole. By the way, we'll move on in a second, but speaking of movies, Chapa, I won a movie bet with Roth, and now I get to assign him a movie. And I'm leaving it up to the people. I wasn't sure, should I be mean? Should I be nice? Should I give him like a really funny, terrible movie to watch? A great movie for whatever reason never seen before? And I actually sent out a tweet and let the people decide. What would you do, Chop? Would you, if you had the ability to make Roth like watch, I don't know, 80 for Brady or whatever you think would be funny? Would you do that, or would you give him like a movie he's never like, just a great movie that's kind of fell through the cracks?
Well, what did you put on your poll?
Well, I basically asked the people like which
which genre, like a bad.
No. I said like, should I be nice or should I be mean? Basically, yeah. No official movie.
I don't know. That's a good one. Probably because it's a bet. Why are you rewarding a losing bet with something good like a good movie that you've never seen? You might as well punish the bet. Is losing a bet's supposed to be punishment, so. Give him like the 80 for Brady or something, which I have not seen and I have no desire to see.
Tiptoes was the one that we might consider, but we'll see. I don't know if you've seen Tiptoes, but it is.
Give him Manchester by the Sea.
That's a good movie, though.
Boy, that will put him.
It's really depressing.
That will put you to sleep right there.
You don't see it twice, but it's a good movie, like for what it is. It's just you got to be in the right mood for it, which is like I guess not a happy one. I'm not sure. It's a bummer.
Punish him with that the Iron Claw.
You didn't like that? Oh yeah, that's another sad one though. Yeah,
that'll ruin your night, man. It's a solid acted movie, but boy, it'll ruin your night.
Crazy Coop says Cats. Cats is a great possibility. That was supposedly a complete disaster. I did not see that, but one of the bigger flops we've seen in the last so many years. All right. By the way, checking out the what do you got?
What you
got? I was just checking out the live stream chat to see if anybody guessed today's film. They have not. So we'll drop a third clue.
My guess isn't.
It is not Shrek. It is not Shrek. The third clue is going to change things. It's also not Leprechaun in the Hood, which is guessed every single
what a good movie.
Is that the one with Jennifer Aniston? I'm not sure. It might be. Ice-T, I think, is actually in that one, if I'm not mistaken. But the third clue is underwater. Underwater is the third clue. You had something, Chuck.
I was going to say I need TJ on this one because HR junk and stuff in chat says Thunderbolt sucked. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that one. I need what TJ's opinion on that one.
I think that's wrong. According to
very, very untrue. I like it less than most people, but it's like most are thinking it's one of the best, like top 10 Marvel movies. I'd have it basically like right mid to upper, or no, definitely in the upper tier, but bottom upper tier for me.
Did you watch the movie before or after you interviewed Julie Louis-Dreyfus?
Before or after? I was supposed to watch it before, but I couldn't get to Toronto for in line with one of the screenings.
Like, what if it was terrible? Do you like pretend it's not, or you ask her about like something else?
No, I don't like. It's not like my questions are, "What do you think of the movie? Isn't it so great?" Like it's they're more I don't know, specific to different things, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Okay,
anyway.
Question for TJ. I do like that genre of movie. Let's say I've got 2.5 hours, and that's all I've got, and that's it for the next month, 2 months. I can't go back to the theater ever, and I can only buy one ticket. Is it Sinners or is it Thunderbolt?
Sinners.
Oh,
Sinners is my number 1 movie of the year. Thunderbolts is 2.
Wow, interesting.
Companion is 3, which I did not expect.
Oh, I watched that. That was on was it on Hulu? I watched it somewhere. Going cold on Companion. I knew nothing about that movie, and it's a new movie. It's a new concept. I'll just say that it's not a sequel. It's kind of an original idea on stuff you've seen out there. I recommend Companion as well. Myself and TJ, we agree. That was very good. In like an hour and a half. It's in and out. It's streaming on one of them. Let me know, TJ. Put in the chat where it's streaming. It's streaming someplace. You probably have access to it. Okay. Chop, the third clue is underwater, by the way. Feel free to fire off in the chat. In Discord as well. We're getting some guesses.
I just guessed.
That's an awesome guess, but it is not Finding Nemo. It is not Finding Nemo. But that is a good guess. Okay. By the way, Companion streaming on Max. Yeah, check that one out, Chop. I think you'll like it. Okay. Give me the summary as far as pitchers. We're going to talk stacks. We're going to talk the knockers. We got all the goods. Of course, once we hit 75 likes, 100 likes, we're going to get Spidey Bombs from TJ, dropping them in chat. They're also scrolling as well as the clues. Anything else you want to say as far as pitchers, or shall we talk about our tiers?
Just my quick summary. Scooble in a tier of his own, number 1. I'll probably have the most of him easily. The next tier, Max Fried, Framber Valdez, Clay Holmes, all I think very solid. Robbie Ray would be in that tier normally, but the ownership is so high, you got to figure out what you want to do with that on your own. I think he's a good play. He also makes for a fine fade. And if you're on DraftKings, Gunnar Hoglund, I think, is definitely in play. 2-pitcher site, that kind of salary. Now, that tier below all those guys are fine and they're talented, but I'm just not playing Yamamoto, Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan, Brian Wu, or Chris Bassett, or Jose Siriano. Just not playing them, even though they're fine. And then anybody else is not even remotely in play tonight. If you're talking about Bello, Waka, Ben Brown, Jack Leiter, all those other guys, the situation where we got an opener and a long man. I think it's Milwaukee tonight. They just announced Jonathan Cannon, Dean Kramer. No, none of those guys are interesting to me. So it's pretty definitive split right there with the guys I mentioned and the other guys.
Yeah, Tyler Alexander opening for Priester, the lefty opening there for Milwaukee. I don't really think we care, though, for our purposes. No Cubs and no Milwaukee as far as the lineups. Unless I missed it. I don't think we have those just yet. Chop, tell the people today's tiers category.
So there's a lot of hubbub going on social media this week. A lot of hubbub, guys. I don't know if you're in tune with the social media, but there's a lot of people asking the question, could 100 men take down a silverback gorilla? It's a good question. It's a valid question. Everybody has an opinion on it. And I've heard from experts on both sides, easily 100.
There are experts for this? Okay.
Yes, there really are. They're real experts, not in the, could a man beat a gorilla, but like nature experts and all this other stuff. So it's a lot of stuff. But the category today, the tier board would be, if I was in a battle, or you, because we did this together, Dean. This wasn't like a solo project. I don't want to be blamed for all of this. But if we were, if me and you were in a group and we were battling this silverback, who are some of the people we would want in this group the most, and who are some of the people we would want on our side the least. So that's kind of where the tier board is. So you can, fire off some people you'd want in your 100-man group in chat, or some guys you don't want. But this is kind of a me and Dean put this list together.
All
so
right.
I'm starting. There was a couple guys up top, but we went with Ray Lewis. I kind of lobbied for Ray Lewis for a couple reasons, not just the physical stuff, but you're gonna need some motivation too. Fighting this group, guys are gonna go before you, and they're gonna get slaughtered, and you're gonna need to hang in there. And Ray Lewis could motivate with the best of them, so we put Ray Lewis up there at the very least. And plus, we know Ray Lewis has no issues with, what I'm going to say, Dean. So I'm not even going to say it.
I know what you're saying without saying it. There's a history there, allegedly.
Next tier for me would be like the Mountain from the Game of Thrones. Believe it or not, this guy that was not just cinematography. That was not just like, FX or anything. This guy is really 6'9", almost 400 pounds, and was a world-class strongman at one point. He's legit. And that's the kind of guy I want. A bunch of those guys on my side here fighting the gorilla. Because I have a specific strategy I'd like to go for, but whatever,
Hanging back is my strategy.
Yeah, I'll hang back. I'll be in the very last group to go. But in the meantime, I want some guys in there who are where this fell out, where this silverback out a little bit. Tier 3 there. You kind of threw in the name Floyd Mayweather. I kind of agree with it. Like, what is Floyd going to bring to the table? Like, he's just not, that old defensive boxing stuff really isn't going to.
You don't stick and move a gorilla, right? Like,
I don't think that's going to work. But I'm on the fence. We're on the fence.
He's kind of passive.
Yeah, he is passive, but maybe he does wear him out. Maybe the stick and move wears the gorilla out a little bit. So I don't know. We're on the fence. He's in tier 3. For sure, I don't want the Paul brothers out there. That's fake tough guys. We got to get that one out of there. And the last one, you really lobbied for Kirk Deese here. You really lobbied. I just want that to be.
I was going for comedy.
I was trying not to do it, but Dean, upon further review, I went back and I looked. 2020, we did an RG basketball game, the last one ever. I went back and watched the tape.
You broke it down.
Kirk Deese was setting some mean picks. I think Kirk Deese, maybe Kirk Deese doesn't belong in the bottom tier right there. Maybe you have somebody else in that tier. Do you have anybody else in mind you could put down there in the bottom tier that you wouldn't want?
Well, I thought it'd be funny to pull the old swerve and we got producer TJ here. Just maybe put TJ in the bottom. We know what he's doing the producing. We want to stay on his good side. But Kirkwood is. He's a vengeful.
How would I be at the bottom?
That's what I said, CJ. That's what I said. That's what I said. But Dean was like, "We gotta get TJ on the bottom. We gotta get TJ." I was like, "Whoa!"
So I insisted on both TJ and Kirkwood. Your story doesn't.
I'd be at the top of this show, Dean. I'd be in tier 1 of this show.
Oh well, I mean that's what does that say? I mean, there's always a serious person at that camp. Like.
All of us would die equally quick against the gorilla.
We just thought it'd be fun to take a shot at you and just kind of get a reaction.
We got Mardon in chat says Big T was cooking everyone. I'm assuming he's talking about the RG basketball game, but I'll say this much about Big T. If he was on this board, he would be near the bottom for me because Big T, and I'm not talking about the workbench here, but he had about 3 or 4 good minutes in him. And then he just puckered out, man, at the RG basketball game. So I don't know if I want Big T in there with that. That gorilla would wear him out as opposed to the opposite, trying to tire the gorilla. Big T didn't have a whole lot of
Simmons minutes.
He didn't have a whole lot of stamina on him that day, but maybe he hit the cardio machine. I don't know.
All right, let's go ahead and fire off, throw some teams in some stacks. By the way, I believe we have a winner. It looks like we have a winner in the Discord channel for today's Film Friday. We will continue dropping the clues. We'll go ahead and drop the 4th one. The 4th clue is Family Guy. Family Guy is the 4th clue, but we'll call out the winner shortly. If you want to play out the string and have some fun, enjoy yourself, and get the today's Film Friday. Sorry, Chop, you weren't able to take it down, but there's always next As always, next week. Okay, Rays, Yankees, 9 total. Max Fried, all his ground balls. X1 pitcher, taking on Ryan Pepio. Loaded Yankees offense. By the way, second base is terrible. This your beat, Vivas. Some speed, some power, and is super, super cheap. I don't mind it, especially for a wraparound Yankees. I'm okay. Like, he's 2K. You get a 2K crapper, at DK, where, and second base is just brutal. It's just a bad position all around. And I feel like I'm overspending on some other players. I don't mind the flat out punch. It's kind of pointing that one out there. I don't know much about this person. I did a little dive into Vivas before the show started, but yeah, cracking the 9 hole, get a little wraparound. Where do you have the Yankees and the Rays?
What was clue 4?
Clue number 4 was Family Guy. And it looks like TJ's building our board here on the fly, but I think the first one kind of crapped out on him. So he's multitasking. He's making it work. Oh, you know what? He's going to change the last one probably, but yeah, where are we throwing the Yankees and the Rays?
Let me pull them up right here.
Paul.
Oh,
Tier makers makes my computer go really slow, but I want to shout out to producer Steve because he just sent me a text and he showed me how to go into presentation mode for the tier maker list, and now we no longer have the Home Depot ad hanging up over our heads.
Oh, unofficial sponsor.
So
I was wondering what that was.
we got rid of the ad, but I got to remake the list now.
Fair enough.
Okay,
Chop?
take your time. Yankees. So we got the Tampa Bay against Fried. I already mentioned I kind of like Fried. He's certainly in that second tier pitchers for me that I want to use. He's been good, been solid, can still strike guys out. So Tampa Bay is going in tier 5 for me. They're going at the very bottom when we get that up. Not in love with that one. The Yankees get to take on Ryan Pepio. And they got what is it?
You get that right. You butcher. You got Pepio right, and you butcher everything. Go ahead.
How is that not? That's an easy one. Pepio.
Oh, well, all right.
It's pronounced like it's spelled. It's pronounced like it's spelled. I mean, I was guessing. It's not like I've ever heard it.
It's not pronounced how it's spelled. But go ahead. Continue.
Okay. How is it spelled? Pepiot?
Yeah, Pepiot.
Oh well, yeah. I'm always going to give a name a French flair, Dean. So that falls right in line.
Fair enough.
But the Yankees, I think, have moved up to the highest team total on the slate, if I'm not mistaken. So, well over 5 runs. I got the Yankees in tier 2. It's just a really solid, rock solid. Pepio's not a bad pitcher, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just a really rock solid offense at home in a hitter-friendly ballpark. I'm going tier 2 for the Yankees.
All right. Tier 2 for the Yankees, and you threw the Rays and where? I know TJ's still working in that board.
All the way in the bottom tier.
By the way, I just realized Kirkwood, we talked to him, I think it was yesterday. I think he's in Mexico. He was going to Mexico. So he's catching shrapnel on vacation. So, I was wondering why, like, I thought maybe he would pop in, his ears are ringing or something like that. But that's why we're not getting any Kirkwood chiming into the chat.
Yeah.
Mexico,
so he's got bigger issues right now in Mexico.
Well, I think he's there for a wedding, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but you gotta
he's
watch. He got to watch the street tacos and watch the water. You don't need to be worried about the RG show right now.
Royals, Orioles, 9 total. Dean Kramer, Michael Wacha. We did get a really good temperature, nice temp in Baltimore. I think it's 88 in Baltimore today. Wacha, professional pitcher, but not anybody we're afraid of, obviously. Where do you have the Royals and Baltimore?
Yeah, Royals and Baltimore. Kansas City, okay. We talked about those bad offenses earlier, surprising. And this Kansas City offense ranks near the bottom 2 in Major League Baseball in a lot of, or the run scoring categories, right? They
no Sal Perez as well. I should have mentioned he's hurt.
Why would I stack him? They can't score runs this year, and they can't even score runs, and they've got one of the best hitters in the game. So you take Bobby Witt out of the lineup, and they're putrid. So if I want to go Kansas City, I'll just go Bobby Witt. Like, I can just one-off Bobby Witt. So it's a great matchup. Normally, I wouldn't mind this match. So I'm going to put them in tier 3, but, man, I don't think Kansas City's very good. And, the tier 3 would only be out of respect to Bobby Witt in a 4-man stack or something. But
they're really cheap is what if you want to say something nice about them. But you're right.
They stink.
A lot of cheap pieces.
Baltimore, tier 2. I don't mind Baltimore here against Micah Wacha for a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, it's kind of telling you with that big near 5 team total. Vegas thinks that it's pretty good hitting weather. Wacha's not terrible, but he's not great either. He can be had. So I like Baltimore in tier 2.
We shall move on. Again, there's 12 teams on the slate? No, 24. 2 times 12. There's 12 games. Guardians taking on the Blue Jays. TJ's Blue Jays. Chris Bassett, the Hound. We talked about him being really good this year from a K perspective. You usually get him with lefties. Kwan's there, J-Ram, Manzardo, plenty of pop there at the first base spot. They have a lot of lefties. So I don't really know. You're talking about Bassett before. Just a couple too many lefties for me to roster Bassett. I don't know if I'm going to pick on him necessarily, but you tell me. Logan Allen taking on Bassett. Really, really cheap Vlad on FanDuel. Vlad is $3K on FanDuel. If you're playing cash games over there, that's one of the first players you're putting in your lineup, in my estimation. Santander also really cheap as well. And Alejandro Kirk is probably the punt du jour at catcher if you need a punt catcher on DK. Where do you have is this Andres Gimenez a revenge? Can you get revenge at the 9 hole? I don't know. If you can, maybe you'll get some today. You tell me about Cleveland and Toronto.
You can get revenge on any hole you want to, Dean, for being honest here. Cleveland and Toronto. So Cleveland, I'm putting in tier 4. Bassett's been pretty good this year. He's been solid his entire career, basically, but he's taken an uptick this year. We'll see if it lasts or not, but I'm going to put Cleveland in tier 4. Not an offense I particularly love anyway. I love picking on Logan Allen. Sometimes that's been really bad, but most of the time you can do pretty well against it. I like Toronto. Spoiler alert, I don't think I'm going to mention them. I don't think I'm going to bring them up later on, but they were certainly in the final cut, as was a few teams. They were in the final cut for some knockers. I was lining up some north of the border knockers, but I'm not going to do it. I think I'm going to go another team. So I really like them. So I'm putting them in tier 2.
I like that there's so many layers to your competition that there's like a initial, like make it past the first wave and then top 3, top 4, and then you finally whittle it down. You don't just do it all willy-nilly. You put a lot of thought into the knockers.
That would be unprofessional if you just willy-nilly these shows, man. No, I put a lot of thought into it. But I definitely saw some, like I said, some north of the border knockers I was very intrigued in. Just don't think they're going to make the final cut. I was waiting on some lineups to come out too.
We're still waiting on the Cubs and the Brewers, Detroit, and San Fran, unless I missed one during the show. I think those are the ones we're waiting on at this point. Let's go ahead and drop that 5th clue for fun. We already have a winner, but the 5th clue is Bite Chop. I don't know if you probably haven't seen today's Film Friday. Rescue, Drizzle, Underwater, Family Guy, and Bite. Those are our 5 clues for Film Friday. Okay, moving along. Next game we're going to talk about here is Minnesota. Minnesota taking on Boston. Brian Bayo, Joe Ryan. Ryan, really good pitcher. Tougher environment. Kind of a coin toss here, according to Vegas. 4.5 team total on both sides. 74 is the temp. Anything popping here in Weather Edge? I don't think so. I don't think, unless something has changed in the last not too long ago. 18% homer boost, by the way, in Baltimore, according to Weather Edge. Yeah, 10% homer boost in Boston, 190-game sample. Also an 11% boost in runs. So Weather Edge is telling us this is a pretty good hitting environment today, especially when you consider it against a lot of the other spots. Where do we have Boston and Minnesota? Larnack leading off, by the way, which is something I don't know if he's seen this year against the righty. Julien, I thought, would lead off. He's bumped down to the 6th spot.
Boston. Well, let's start with Minnesota there against Brian Bayo. Yeah, I'm not. I guess I'm not particularly interested in Minnesota, so I got them in tier 4. The offense is okay. Larnack has been on fire, and so I just think you could probably one off some guys and feel better about it. So I got them in tier 4. Boston, boy, Joe Ryan is tough. I'm not gonna lie, but Boston's also tough on offense. So it makes me not want to roster Joe Ryan, but also not have a whole ton of Boston. So I'm putting the Boston Red Sox in tier 3 for me. So I just don't want to go too heavily invested against a really good pitcher when, like, I've already said it, we're going to have a lot of tier 2 teams here and a couple of tier 1s later on down the road. So you got to pick and choose tonight, man. 24 teams. You can't just, You got to really take some stands on some of this, and I don't want to roster a stack against Joe Ryan.
All right, so Boston in Floyd Mayweather, Minnesota in the Paul brothers. Moving on. Next game up is the Athletics. The Athletics taking on the Marlins. 9.5 is our total. Pretty big number for this ballpark, but that's what Valente Veloso is going to do these days. And Gunnar Hoglund making his MLB debut. Again, former first-round pick. He was one of the pieces in the Matt Chapman trade a couple years ago when Chapman was traded away to was it straight to San Fran or someplace else? I don't recall. But wherever he was traded away to, Hoglund was one of the guys that they got back. No Butler in this Athletics lineup. It's kind of a bummer, but also makes them, easier to make work. Blade revenge, speaking of. He was traded straight up for AJ Puck. Seth Brown is also a potential cheapie. Nick Kurtz, we're still kind of waiting for him to break out. Veloso is rough. There's also this bullpen for the Marlins. Worst bullpen in baseball, arguably. Only one lefty in that bullpen as well. So feel pretty good about the lefties today. Soderstrom, Rooker, Langeliers, Wilson leading off. I wish he had a little bit more punch, but he can get a couple hits. There's a decent shot of getting those 5 ABs. Athletics are one of my favorite team in the board, Chop. You tell me otherwise. And I think you've got to get a pinch of the Marlins just because you never really know what you're going to get at an MLB debut. It's just kind of a mixed bag. Edwards is the kind of guy that, if he gets on base, he can be a pest and, steal a couple bases, especially if Hoglund's out there and nervous and walks on the first at bat, that kind of thing. But I have a little bit of Marlins, not a full Marlins, but I like the A's a lot. You tell me otherwise.
So starting off with Miami, if you want to get a pinch, then get a pinch. I got them in tier 4, which is not the worst spot to be in, but it's not great. It's not a good lineup. So if you want to throw a few Miami stacks in there, just in the hopes that the new guy blows up and you don't get a good bullpen performance, that's fine. Oakland, I'm with you. Like this stack a lot. Like this lineup a lot. They're in tier 1 for me and Ray Lewis. They're just the numbers against the opposing pitcher, not, he's just not, he doesn't look to be that good. It's a good team total. Everything points me. I like the Oakland lineup a lot this year. You said something about Butler, the lefty in there, but to be honest with you, I think the righties in this lineup can really feast tonight just as much, if not more. So I'm on board with all these righties in this lineup. So I don't mind Butler being out, but I love the Oakland stack.
I was in the survey today, Chop, and, I did kind of a deep dive into Veloso and, good for him. He's got, dating back to last season, he has a 3.52 ERA, but his Sierra is the biggest one on the board at 5.34. It's dramatically different. And he's given up a lot of homers despite being protected by that ballpark, but just a ton of fly balls, a lot of fly balls, not missing bats. And, these Oakland guys, I said Oakland too, put $1 in the swear jar. But I just, when the pitchers aren't going to miss the bat of guys like Soderstrom and Rooker, it can be trouble. And it wasn't that long ago, Chop. It was last year. Remember last year where they played in Oakland in that terrible ballpark, and they would still have those games where they would drop 10, despite the fact they're playing in cavernous Oakland. So they can do it. They can do it in big ballparks. So they are my favorite tournament team on the board. All right, let's move on. About 10 minutes or so, we got crunch time coming in. TJ is going to be multitasking, producing, and hosting. Erik Beimfohr is coming in as well as Dave Potts. Cheese is good. All right, next game up is it's the Dodgers. The Dodgers taking on the Braves. 9 total. We got to pick up the pace a little bit here, Chopper. Yamamoto versus Grant Holmes. Where do we have the Dodgers and Atlanta? Holmes walk issues, and that's a bad idea to walk a bunch of guys against the Dodgers who can hurt you pretty good.
Yeah, bottom line, Atlanta's going in tier 4. It's a good pitcher with good numbers. There's nothing that suggests that you're going to stack against him and win most of the or anytime. So Atlanta's in tier 4. The Dodgers have a powerful offense against ground, like you mentioned, some issues with the control. Sometimes Dodgers are going to go in tier 2 for me. I see better stacks out there, but certainly want to have something from this team.
Shout out to the chat for hitting the like button. Every 25 more likes, we're getting homers. I'm seeing them scrolling right now. Once we get to 150, we'll get a 4th Spidey Bomb. Ben Rice is the first one. Kerry Carpenter, the second one. Yeah, Carpenter is always just a little bit too cheap. Those Detroit lefties seem to be a little bit too cheap always. Betts is the third one. Another one incoming once we hit 150 likes. Let's move on.
Where were these past tiers? Sorry, I missed that.
Chop.
What was the question?
Dodgers. Where did you put the Dodgers?
Dodgers 2, Atlanta 4. Dodgers 2, Atlanta 4.
Your Astros are in Chicago. Not the best hitting environment. It's pretty cool. It's going to be in the 40s tonight. Framber Valdez taking on Jonathan Cannon. Chop, did you see the reason why Altuve asked to be dropped to the 2-hole? Did you happen to catch this? I'm sure you did, right? It's pretty hilarious. Maybe you didn't.
I think I read. I thought I read something, but I don't remember what didn't stand out to me. So
he requested to bat second as opposed to first because he's coming in from left field now as opposed to coming in from second base. And apparently it takes him too long to get ready for his first at bat. I don't know if he was joking. It's pretty funny. But he's like, yeah, I need those extra 20 seconds or so, whatever it was. And that supposedly is the reason why he requested to bat second, which is hilarious. But there you go. He's batting second now with
Good
Pena.
for him, man. Good for him.
How long? I mean, it's a more of a distance, but yeah, okay. Anyways, you're on Joy Cheap and Vandal, by the way, as he's been all season long because he's not done things, but maybe tonight he starts doing things. You tell me.
The White Sox tier 5. That one's pretty easy for me. Framber is just a ground ball pitcher, and you're just not. Most of the time, you're just not going to elevate against him. So that's a tier 5. Houston, another tier 1. I'm going in tier 1. I'm taking a risk here because the offense has been poor this year, but I think it's starting to come around, and maybe it's no coincidence that the Altuve moved down in the order, and that's kind of helped get a leadoff hitter up there. And I don't know. I just feel like there's a chance Houston erupts tonight with something good. Jordan starting to hit the ball well, and when that happens, the rest of the lineup will take off. Paredes has hit the ball really hard. And Christian Walker, I said at the beginning of the year, he was struggling with the numbers, but the exit velocity and the contact and the barrel rates were really good. He just was getting very unlucky. Well, those things started to flip into some home runs. So the lineup's coming around. I'm going to put them in tier 1 and take a shot.
Derek also pointing out that Altuve's got to put his buzzer on. People forget that. Yeah, you can't. He doesn't like wearing the buzzer in the field. So I guess that is a good point. That takes some time to put that on.
Who said that? Who said that?
Derek.
Let me write that one down. Derek, not nice. Not nice, sir.
Mariners, Rangers, 8.5 total. Wu taking on Jack Leiter, returning back from the IL. Where do we have Seattle and Texas? A game that I think is just kind of lost on this slate. Is that correct? Should it not be lost? Should we be fine in this game? Seattle versus Texas. What do you got?
I don't know if we should be fine this game, but like Texas against Wu is not bad. He's actually solid, and Texas surprised me with how much they've struggled this year on offense. So I'm not particularly interested in Texas. They're a tier 4 for me. They got to start hitting the ball better as a unit. Or else I don't want to run. And Wu's he's pretty good. So that's a tier 4. Seattle, on the other hand, get out of that big ass ballpark in Seattle, get to Texas where it's a little bit better. And so I'm going to put them in tier 2. I think it's definitely a winnable matchup here against Leiter. So I'm definitely and Julio Rodriguez looks to have bounced back a little bit from a rough year last year. He's looking a lot better. So I like Seattle.
Cubs and Brewers, 9 total. We said Tyler Alexander is going to be the opener here. Priester coming in. Ben Brown on the other side. Just got the Cubs. Happ, Tucker, Suzuki, Kelly, the catcher, who's just been scorching. I still don't believe it, but good for him for his hot start. Bush, Horner, PCA, that's Crow Armstrong, Swanson, Lopez. Yelich back in the lineup for Milwaukee. Terang, Churio, Yelich, Contreras, Frelick, Hoskins, Collins, Ortiz, Durbin. So no Bowers. Cubs, Brewers, what do you got?
Yeah, I am not super stoked about Milwaukee here. I'm putting them in tier 4. It's tough, man. On this slate, you got to drop some dead weight off, and I'm just not in love with Milwaukee stacks. Chicago, probably the best offense in baseball so far this year. Just a generalization. I don't know if it'll hold up, but man, they've got some firepower in there. Tucker has really bolstered that lineup. I like them. I'm putting them in tier 2. I think this is a matchup they can exploit. We'll see what the bullpen looks like after the opener and after the long guy. If they don't want to bring out the good part of that bullpen, Chicago could blow up again, and I'm putting them in tier 2.
All right, 3 more games. Crunch time coming in about 6-7 minutes or so, give or take, depending on. Next game up is producer Steve's Mets. Clay Holmes, Sonny Gray, 7.5 total. Kind of a neutral ballpark here. We finally saw Juan Soto break out yesterday, banged out a couple homers. He's going to be fine. He was always going to be fine. I don't think people are playing either one of these teams, as far as I can tell. Interesting pivots, I suppose. Lindor, always get yourself some polar bear as well. But, Cardinals, Mets. We talked about liking Clay Holmes a little bit as well. So I don't think – well, you tell me. Where do you have the Metropolitans and St. Louis?
I do like Clay Holmes. I do like what he's done this year and what he's brought to the table. St. Louis is a tier 5 for me. I don't want to attack Clay Holmes. He's pretty good about keeping that ball out of the air anyway. So I definitely don't want to attack him. Going tier 5 for St. Louis. The Mets, I know Sonny Gray's good numbers. Most of the time, he's not going to get give up a GPP winning stack against him. Every once in a while, he will. The Mets are good enough to keep him out of the very bottom. I'm going to put him in tier 4 just on the strength of the lineup. But Sonny Gray, I mean, we got 24 teams, some great matchups tonight. I don't want to go out of my way to pick on Sonny Gray. So tier 4.
Holmes, 62.1% ground balls dating back to last season. That's the best number on the board. 0.38 homers per 9. Yeah, I have no interest in stacking St. Louis. Just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to give up 3 homers or something goofy can happen in the bullpen. You never know. Wonky things always happen. But if that happens, so be it. I'm moving on to another slate. Screwball, Soriano. Speaking of ground balls, that is his one skill. Soriano does get a ton of ground balls. Not a great pitcher, but he will keep the ball on the ground. We talk about the 2 lefties here, Carpenter and Green. No lineup just yet for Detroit. And we mentioned Trout not playing baseball for the Halos tonight. Screwball, best pitcher in the slate. Where do we have Detroit and the Angels?
You hit it. Screwball's the best pitcher on the slate, and Soriano is not giving up. He just doesn't give up a lot of fly balls. That kills the home run possibilities for an already kind of weak Detroit lineup. I'm putting both these teams in tier 5. Don't want any part of either one of these teams.
Do want to mention, by the way, MLB DFS. You can get our entire season for MLB DFS at RotoGrinders for $4.25. However, we also have another option. You can get the entire all the other sports, everything else: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, PGA, soccer, everything with the exception of NASCAR. You can get it all together. Combo Pro, all the bells, all the whistles, optimizer, Plate IQ, Cheese's article, the rankings. Chop stuff whenever he's in the expert survey. I'm in there as well. A slew of really, really smart content providers. Same exact price. So if you want baseball a la carte, by all means, sure. But you're probably playing all our DFS sports, I imagine. You get them all for the same price. You commit to 6 months. You get 35% off. Again, NBA content, PGA, all the sports. Do check out the link in the description to check that out. And as well, we have the props and pick'em package, 50% off your first month when you sign up with the link in the description. That's if you're hanging out in Underdog or Prize Picks or just your local sportsbook, state sportsbook. I shouldn't say local sportsbook. Doing player props and things of that sort. Check out the link for the props and pick'em package. Last game, Chopper. We have the knockers coming up. We have the BBP suggestion of the day. We have Crunch Time coming on. Also have to explain the movie. It's the Rockies. It's the Giants. Robbie Ray in his tight pants is a massive favorite. Minus 305. It's actually jumping in favor in San Fran. It's rising. It was at 280, 290 before. Now it's even higher. Taking on Colorado outside of Coors. They're terrible. But does that matter? Robbie Ray,
yes,
yes,
it matters to me.
Because Robbie Ray he can throw strikes or he can't.
But here's the thing, though. I know he can be bad, but if he's not in control and he's having one of those first innings or second innings, there's plenty of depth in that bullpen, and it could be a solid long relief bullpen game. They'll get him out. I don't think they let him go crazy. Here's the thing: you just typically aren't going to make money in DFS stacking a team that has a team total under 3. That is microscopically low. I got to put them in tier 5. I guess in, the flagship GPPs where you're facing so many other teams, could you leverage Robbie Ray's ownership and go with Colorado stack? Sure. But even at that point, like it's not a 6 or 7, or it's not a 6 or 7 game slate where you don't have very many options. Like, what are the odds that Colorado's 4 or 5 man stack outscores some of these other fantastic prime opportunities? It's just not good. So if you want to fade Robbie Ray, I think that's the leverage you get. Just flat out fade him. I don't know about the Colorado stack.
That's enough. Yeah.
Yeah. San Francisco is a tier 2 for me. Don't like the ballpark or the weather tonight necessarily, but it is a good matchup for them. They've got some thump in the lineup. I'll put them in tier 2.
They have a team total above 5 at home, which doesn't happen very often. No lineup just yet, but yeah, Adames is really cheap on DK. If you're playing cash games, he's probably your cash game shortstop. But things have changed as the show has progressed. But if you don't have the salary to spend up on shortstop, he's probably your guy. Let's recap the board. Let's give the people some of the knockers. Let's give the people the BVP suggestion of the day. Explain the movie. Crunch time coming in here momentarily. Okay. By the way, if you joined us late, these are people that you want. 1 versus 100. You're fighting a silverback. Who do you want on your side? In the Ray Lewis tier, all the way up top, it's just 2 teams. It's Chop's Astros and my team. I like the Athletics. My team tonight, at least. The Mountain from Game of Thrones. That's pretty popular tier. It's the Yankees, Baltimore, Toronto, Dodgers, Seattle, Cubbies, Giants, right in the middle. Floyd, Mayweather, Kansas City, and Boston. The Paul brothers, Cleveland. I think they're from Cleveland, so that works out. Minnesota, Miami, the Braves, Texas, Milwaukee, the Mets, and Detroit, and hanging out with Kirkwood, catching some strays while on vacation is Tampa, the White Sox, St. Louis, the Angels, and the Rockies. Chop, give the people the knockers.
BVP suggestion of the day, Dean. I'm gonna start off with the BVP suggestion of the day. One of the reasons I bumped Baltimore up a little bit extra tonight into a tier 2 was because I liked some of the BVP I saw in my research, and one of them being Ryan Mountcastle. So I'm rocking Ryan Mountcastle as the BVP suggestion of the day. Nothing.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah, just a suggestion. Now, the knockers, man. Whew, lots of opportunities for the knockers today. Well, I know I had the tier 1 team out there with Oakland or Sacramento. Don't know if I want to go that route. I think Houston was the surpriser in the tier 1. So I'm going to go some H-Town knockers out there in the Windy City. Yeah, some Windy City knockers. How about that? Hate to do it, but we only got one left-hander in the lineup, I think, tonight. So Jordan's got to be one of those knockers. I like the new leadoff guy. We talked about Altuve. I like the new leadoff spot for Pena. I think it gets him a lot of protection behind him and helps him out. So Pena, Alvarez, 1-2 punch.
Mountcastle, 10 hits, 22 at-bats, 6 singles, a triple, 3 homers, a walk, and 4 stolen bases. There you go. That is the BVP suggestion for Chop. Today's Film Friday. Chop, you don't know the answer just yet, do you? I don't think you do.
I stopped guessing when somebody got it. My last guess, Finding Nemo, was not it. So these last 2 clues, I didn't even venture a guess. But I'm curious what it is now because I think I was on the verge of some thoughts.
So the main character in this movie, Rescue, happens to be a rescue diver, a failed rescue diver in the beginning of the movie, if you remember correctly. The second clue was Drizzle. Drizzle is in reference to one of the actors in this movie, Rainn Wilson. You know Rainn Wilson. Drizzling rain. Underwater. This movie essentially takes place underwater for the most part the entire time. Family Guy. Think of the characters in Family Guy. There's Stewie. There's Brian. There's Peter. There's Quagmire. What's the daughter's name in Family Guy? It's Meg. The Meg. And I know you're a big Jason Statham guy as well, Chop. So I did a little Jason Statham movie for you. And the 5th clue was Bite. Of course, Meg is a big shark. If you're not aware of that. Megalodon. I guess it's too tricky to say, I suppose. They shorten for the people. Also, the 50th anniversary of Jaws this year. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I've seen the Meg. I like the Meg.
Did you see Meg 2?
I don't think I saw Meg 2 yet, but I like Statham movies. But I should have guessed Meg, man. God dang it.
Well, you're doing a show. You're multitasking.
It's on me.
It's kind of a handicap. It's a little bit trickier for you. You're not just sitting there and not giving content while thinking about it. But all right, let's do it. Let's go ahead and bring in crunch time. We have Erik Beimfohr, TJ is going to turn his mic on, and Dave Potts' Cheese is Good. Crunch time right now. What's up, boys? Beimfohr, TJ, Cheese. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Dean.
I want to jump right in and say I'm rarely on board with, BVP suggestions of the day, but Dean started reading off stats. Did you say 4 stolen bases while you were reading off all those stats? I mean, you did. Did you mean that?
If I did, I meant strikeouts. Did he really?
Okay, you said 4 stolen bases.
I caught the same thing. I caught the same thing.
4 is his career high for an entire season. I would have been all in. I would have been all in if that was.
They all came against Waka. Yeah, they all came against
Waka.
Waka he tips his move. He really tips his move when there's no one to go.
I actually do like Ryan Mountcastle today. I was going to give him such a huge boost if that was in fact where all of his stolen bases in his life had come from.
Remember Billy Hamilton had 3 home runs versus John Lester for no particular reason? You guys remember that? All you can do is steal against Lester, but he has like 3 homers in his career. It's probably the guy he's homered against the most. I would imagine so. I
miss Billy Hamilton.
Yeah. Well, he's back. He plays for the Rays now.
Yeah.
He plays for Tampa.
Not really. Not
kind of.
It's not the same.
We'll see. Maybe. I hope so. All right. Chop, anything else before we step aside and get out of here?
Nah, I'll just throw out there that if can't put everybody on the board, but if we were going to go with some extra pieces on the board, I'd put Beimfohr in tier 2 because people forget he was a defensive back in college. He's got some skills. Maybe he could wear that gorilla out. Just run around the gorilla and wear him out a little.
Who burned you? Anybody burn you in college?
I played against Derek Carrier. That was the best receiver I played against. He played for he played tight end actually for the Raiders, but he played receiver in college in my conference, and he ran like a 4.4 at like 230 pounds. I'm about 200 pounds. It was a slight mismatch. Me and the old NFL football player.
Hey, let me ask. I should probably know this, but who or what is the Mountain tier 2 of that? Am I supposed to know what that is?
Chop.
Game of Thrones. It's a character from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
In real life, he is 6'9", 400 pounds.
Okay.
He's a big guy. We're going to get him on there. I just want him to grab one gorilla leg for a while and wear him down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've got a strategy here.
All right. And then
I was
Kirk
lobbying.
Run around.
No, Kirk, I don't want Kirk. I don't want 100 people.
If you're old enough like me, if you remember, like way back in the day, ESPN used to show like World's Strongest Man stuff all the time. Oh, yeah. And like Magnus von Magnuson I was lobbying for him. He's like in his 60s now. But back in the day, that guy was like the Aaron Judge of World's Strongest Men. But he did not make the board. Steven Adams also was the guy I was lobbying for because I wanted him on my side in any sort of scrap. He's like one of like 19 children. I don't know if he's the toughest one in the family, but he's a pretty tough dude. But all right, we got Crunch Time firing up. It's Chop. It's me. We're stepping aside and get out of here. TJ, take it over.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz, as Roth likes to say. Beimfohr, it's nice to see you. Feel like we haven't done a show together since early in the football season when I was subbing in for Neil or something, but happy to see you. How you doing?
I'm excited. It's a wonderful evening. Tons of baseball games. My Blues are in a win-or-go-home hockey game. We got a little NBA playoff basketball. It's a wonderful, wonderful evening to play some MLB DFS and watch some sports, brother.
J3 says in chat, can TJ or Tim in chat talk about NHL? We got Eric can talk some NHL. Dave has made a ton of money. I don't want to brag on Dave's behalf. I don't want to count Dave's dollars, but I've seen Dave's name at the top of the GPP list quite often in the NHL standings. Cheese is good. How you doing? Are you as good?
I'm great. Fantastic baseball slate. And yeah, like hockey playoffs are just glorious. Like these, for this to just be kind of the start of the playoffs, we already have just fantastic series all around. I love it. I don't play much DFS in the playoffs because there's nothing I like watching more than playoff hockey. I don't even want to have anything on the line. I just want to watch the games for what they are.
He's talking about his Panthers in chat. My Oilers made it to their next round after a rocky start against the Kings. So we're all enjoying some NHL playoffs right now. Smash the like button if you're watching us on YouTube. We're not talking any NHL, but we are going to talk some MLB for tonight because like both of these guys said, it's a very fun slate tonight. Lots of bats, lots of pitching, We got 3 Spidey Bombs already scrolling at the bottom. Ben Rice, Kerry Carpenter, and Mookie Betts. We'll get a 4th one if you guys can get it up to 150 likes. So keep smashing the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Cheese, why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown of the slate as a whole before we dive into pitching?
Yeah, as a whole, there is everything. There is super high-end pitching, super high-end hitting, great values on the pitching side, great values on the hitting side. You can play there. I would say there is no chalk on the hitting side, so you could play whoever you want. There is some chalk on the pitching side, but there's so many pitchers that even things that would normally be 80% owned are only 40 on this slate. Like, it's glorious all around. And I think it's one of those slates, even if you're doing 150 lineups, you need to just completely cross a bunch of things off your list. This is not a play a little bit of everything slate, which sometimes we get. It's maybe you can cut almost half the board, I think, off just completely off the list.
Erik, what are your thoughts on tonight's slate? And start us off with a little bit of pitcher talk.
Exact same as Cheese. I like to do that on bigger slates in general. So I'm not a 150 maxer, so that's also where I'm coming from. Is I really like to start to narrow down with what do I not want to play, right? What offenses am I not going to target? What pitchers am I not interested in? And that is a little tricky. It is a little tricky tonight because particularly on the pitching side, there's a lot of ways you can go at pitcher, but there's really 2 standouts for me. One, I think, is pretty darn obvious. Skubal is the best pitcher on the slate against the Angels with no Mike Trout, with a lineup loaded with strikeouts. And what's not to love? There's plenty of ways to fit him, but my favorite way to fit him is another pitcher. And when we get a $4,000 pitcher on DraftKings, who's a talented young prospect, look, it's just so hard for me to ignore. It's a Miami matchup in Miami in that stadium. I'm not sure that the raw point. So the only issue that I would have with Gunnar Hoagland is who I'm discussing is pure raw points in like large field tournaments, where if a couple of cheap bats have big games, Hoagland is not going to match what is one of many, SP2s on DraftKings that are really quite good. And we'll obviously get into those guys. But especially in like the smaller field stuff where it's like, I don't need the actual stone cold nuts to win the tournament. Like a $4,000 pitcher who's pretty talented, a former / current top prospect, however you want to view it, had some injuries, had some, a couple of rough seasons in the minors, but has bounced back and has been very good for the last year or so. It's just really hard for me to ignore that. The Marlins also have 3 lefties, only 3 lefties in their lineup, and they are not good. Like it's just a great spot for Hoagland. So he's my perfect way to fit Skubal, and then whatever stack you want, right? You're only spending $14,000 on pitching, even though you played the $10,000 guy. So that's hard for me to ignore, though I do like a lot of these other guys for tournaments too.
That is the exact same page that I'm on today. I am running 150 lineups, but I have 71% Gunnar Hoagland today, going all in on the 4K pitcher. Cheese, how about you? If you were playing cash on either site, who would be your pairing today on DraftKings or solo guy on FanDuel? And then who do you like for tournaments?
Yeah, so similar idea, like definitely Skubal, and I would play Hoagland in cash on DK. And kind of like what Erik said, like it's pretty unlikely that you will win the $11 50K to first DraftKings tournament with Hoagland. Maybe, but like you probably need the random nuts of whatever cheap batters go off and the 2 pitchers who score 30. But in a single entry tournament, your 12 to 15 points that I think you probably get from Hoagland are perfect. So I'm totally with you guys. Like he's too cheap. He should probably be 7,500. I mean, we don't know. It's his first start, but I think he should be 7,500. So really that brings us to the Robbie Ray discussion. I talked about this a lot in the musings today, and I think he's probably in the big field stuff. I think he's not going to be quite as chalky as I originally thought. Like I think he'll be about 35 to 40%, which means in like single entry, probably like 50%, which is way too much on this slate. Now it could be under that. But what I keep coming back to, I've been looking at this all day, like, look at all the pitchers on this slate. Why would you play the one who's not good? Like, I mean, really, I understand the matchup. It's the Rockies and he's at home, but why would you not play Yamamoto or Fried or Valdez or Joe Ryan or Brian Wu or someone who's good at pitching instead of a guy who occasionally might be good. He could break the slate and he could be out in the first inning. I just don't know why you would do it at high ownership. So I hinted at this in the musings. I'm proud of myself. I can tell you for sure. I have 0 Robbie Ray on either site. It's a total of about 50 lineups, 0 Robbie Ray. I feel great about it. It could lose. I could lose. I will not be stunned at all. And again, like I said in the musings, let me reiterate, I'm not predicting a bad game for Robbie Ray. I think most likely he probably gives you like 25 DraftKings points, and that's great. But even at that, even if he gives you 30, okay, 4 other people are going to give you 30 who don't have a realistic floor of -10, even against the Rockies. So I just think it's silly, and I'm out. Now, with that being said, that leaves all these pitchers just unowned because I do think Skubal, Ray, and Hoagland on DraftKings are going to pick up like all of the ownership. So that leaves Yamamoto, Fried, Valdez, Brian Wu, Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray, Clay Holmes, Chris Bassett, like all, maybe 10% ownership, which is crazy. I think Valdez probably gets a little more. The guys I'm highest on of that group are Joe Ryan, Brian Wu, and Framber Valdez.
Noting in chat right now that to make matters even more questionable for Robbie Ray, extreme hitters umpire for him tonight going up against Colorado.
I mean, that really matters for a guy like Ray who cannot pick his spots. Like he needs the calls because he can't decide where to throw it.
Erik, any other large field guys you'd want to touch on before we switch to stacks?
Cheese mentioned him, but I did just want to shout out Joe Ryan. He is, in my opinion, just like, I'm not talking about statistical anything, pure raw talent. Like he's not Skubal and he's probably not Yamamoto, but he's probably third.
He might be.
But he might be Yamamoto. That's what I'm saying. He's not Skubal, but after Skubal, like we can start having a conversation about Joe Ryan. And I don't know if you guys saw the video going around about his sweeper, the sweeper that he's throwing with 30 inches of horizontal break and a slight tail. And it's like, if anybody's watching this and you haven't seen it, just go to Twitter and search Joe Ryan sweeper, because it's going to blow your mind. It's like the most insane pitch you've ever seen. I think he's starting, he just got roughed up by the Braves, but outside of the Braves start, he's been outstanding in tough matchups. Now the Angels matchup that he just crushed was not tough, but like Mets and like good offenses, and he's pitching extremely well. He's throwing that sweeper. It reminds me of like peak Kevin Gausman, where he was actually awesome against lefties because, the natural thing as a right-handed pitcher, throw the fastball, throw the change, throw the splitter to the opposite-handed bats, and he'd get crushed by righties because he wouldn't throw, you're not taught to throw that change up to same-handed bats. And it's the same thing for the sweeper with Ryan, where he's just not throwing it to lefties because you're not kind of, taught to throw that breaking pitch coming in to lefties. And they're just like, screw it. Just throw it. It's the best. It might be one of the best pitches in baseball. Just throw it. He started throwing it more. He's getting more whiffs to those lefties. And I think that the talent was always there. And now we're seeing an even greater talent. Like the Red Sox do have 5 lefties in the lineup. So that is a concern. But a pure talent bet, the Red Sox have strikeouts in their lineup too. Just like straight talent bet at no ownership when the Robbie Ray at the same price is going to be 40 to 50% owned. Like that's just, I can't play Robbie Ray when Joe Ryan is right there.
Make me feel really bad about unveiling Spidey Bomb number 4 at this exact time of Wilyer Abreu at plus 340. But we know in baseball, absolutely, he could give up 2 home runs and still strike out 10 guys and be a fantastic play today. So I like that call with Joe Ryan. Happy you brought it up. I didn't realize this new splitter was such a thing. So I'll throw him into a couple lineups. I don't mind that whatsoever. Dave, you talked about fully fading Robbie Ray. Let's talk about stacks. Or actually, before that, FanDuel Cash, who would be your pitcher today?
Skubal. There's so many cheap bats. Like you don't ever need the $4,000 bats on FanDuel. If you look at like the 3K range, in the outfield. It's so loaded. Like, just play scoop ball.
All right, stacks now. You talked about fully fading Robbie Ray. Are you going to play any Colorado against him?
You know that I am. Like, I don't think it's really it's not super necessary on this big of a slate with this many good offenses, because if they score 5 runs off Robbie Ray in the first inning, which could happen, they still probably don't break the slate. You know what I mean? So yes, I have a couple, but I don't want to pretend like I'm super high on the Rockies. I'm not. But what I am is torn between about 6 to 8 teams, and then I've pretty much just crossed everything else off. I don't have any strong lean at all between the group of teams that I love. If I'm forced to rank them, I will say Dodgers, Orioles, Cubs, 1, 2, 3, and then just a tie between like A's, Astros, Blue Jays, Yankees, Giants. Yeah, and then there's 3 or 4 others, but I'll wait and bring them up later if I need to.
Erik, how about you? Who are you stacking up tonight?
I just want to say that the chat is shout out Dean, because it's killing me with the questions that are coming for Dean. I just wanted to also say on the Giants thing, I'm not, or the Rockies thing, I'm not stacking them. I think it's at least notable. I really like to look at oh, that mustache is glorious. I really like to look at bullpens. This is the perfect graphic for being a nerd and looking at a lot of bullpen type stuff. So the 2 of the 3 best relievers for the Giants have pitched 2 days in a row. Another one of their best relievers has pitched 2 of the last 3 days. And so, can the Rockies hit bad relievers? Still probably not. But like a Brenton Doyle, like I'm a sucker for Brenton Doyle because he can hit home run, he can steal bases, and he's going to hit lead off if they hit well. I like him quite a bit for tournaments. So even if it's not the full Rocky stack, I still think you can play some of those guys. My top stack, though, Cheese mentioned it in one of his top stacks, is the Cubs. Quinn Priester is going to come in after Tyler Alexander. Both not good. Both don't get strikeouts. Cubs are this insane combination of who knew that having Kyle Tucker on your team could like take you over the top from a decent offense to like a really good offense. Somebody in Houston might have maybe wanted to take note of that.
It's crazy that they didn't realize that. Look at their team now and look at the Cubs now. I love
unbelievable. It. Unbelievable. I know that Crow Armstrong and whatever, but like this isn't much different of a Cubs team, and all they did was add Kyle Tucker, and they're elite. It's an elite offense, but the thing that I love about them in tournaments that I've been like historically stacking the Reds a lot for this, and now it's just like mostly Ellie. They do run, but the Cubs just run wild, man. Like not only can they hit for power, not only are they just good pure hitters, they're also on the road in a good hitting spot, and they steal a ton of bases. And so their lefties like Tucker can hit left-handed pitching. So go ahead, bring a lefty reliever in. I don't care, right? I don't care against Tyler Alexander against Kyle Tucker. That's fine. Like Kyle Tucker can hit anybody. They have a bunch of righty power. They have a bunch of speed. They have guys priced at all different price points. And if we're using our Hoagland, right, who cares? I can afford the Cubs if I'm using a Hoagland or something like that. So at their owners, if they were the mega chalk, sure, we can have a conversation. But on this slate, they're not even the most popular offense at all. And I think that they're right there with any other offense in terms of, point expectancy.
I got them as my second highest owned stack on the slate. I got Baltimore 1, Cubs 2, Dodgers 3, Yankees 4 today. Dave, any other large field stuff you'd want to touch on before we go position by position?
The other stuff that's in my pool at some point is the Mariners, the Tigers, and the Royals and the Twins.
All right, let's start going position by position. Erik, you can start us off with a little catcher talk.
So I just, waxed poetic about the Cubs, but I'm not going to lie to you. Carson Kelly as the highest priced catcher.
Price tag's crazy.
I know he's been awesome, but it is really mind-blowing to see Carson Kelly as at 5,200 on DraftKings and the most.
What's mind-blowing is the 1.347 OPS. which is, if you don't know what that number means, that's like better than Aaron Judge's best life. It's wild stuff.
So suffice it to say, I'm not a believer that this is who Carson Kelly is now. Sure, maybe he was a decent prospect for my Cardinals back in the day, but this is wild. We thought we were getting, they basically traded Carson Kelly for Paul Goldschmidt. Carson Kelly and Zach Gallen for Paul Goldschmidt, and I thought we robbed the Diamondbacks. Little did I know that Carson Kelly is the greatest hitter of all time, and it would be nice to have on any offense. But I like to move down a little bit more at catcher. I know Cheese mentioned the A's. The A's are one of my favorite stacks as well, and I mean, I just love what do you call them, Cheese? Langelier. That's right. Langelier, Shea, the Frenchman. The Frenchman at catcher is probably my top option. I mean, power against Belozo for Miami.
Belozo.
They're really throwing this matchup through the name machine here. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone that gives up as many fly balls as he does and doesn't give up any home runs. Now, part of it is playing in that park, right? Of course, that's natural. But forgive me if I don't think he's never going to give up a home run ever, when 80% of the balls that get put in play are fly balls. And this is a pretty good spot for some of those guys, like our Frenchman Langeliers to hit a home run. So he's definitely my top option. I actually don't like Love a whole ton at catcher, so I'm doing a lot more of outside of Carson Kelly, including some of those guys in my stacks. But Shea is my main call out.
All right, Cheese, how about you? Who do you like at catcher?
I essentially have 5 catchers in my pool, other than something in a stack. It's along with Shea, we got Cal Raleigh. I like a bunch. I like Will Smith, and I like Adley Rutschman. Those are all spend ups. Great. I think they're all great plays on their own. And then if I need salary, it's Alejandro Kirk. If I'm trying to play 2 good pitchers, he's the guy.
All right, take us to first.
Okay, so at first, I guess I'll first mention you can play all those catchers on FanDuel. Like as we've seen a lot this year, catcher is almost as good as first base. So don't feel like this is a DraftKings only thing. However, like Vlad at 3K on FanDuel is a steal. You play him on FanDuel. He's my favorite on DraftKings too, but he's not some kind of must play at the salary. I'm super torn on the Royals in general, outside of Witt, and on Pasquantino on DraftKings. Like 3,100 looks really silly, especially with how awful Kramer's been this year. But I don't know. Like Pasquantino is the second Royal that I'm willing to play. I'm fine with him, but I would rather go cheaper pitcher and play someone else at first. But I think he's fine if you need salary. I could also do Rowdy Tellez down there if I want to punt. And then the other spend ups are like totally fine. Ohtani always. Sure, of course. Freeman, Rice, Soderstrom. I like all of them, but I really prefer Vlad. And then I think Michael Busch outside of a Cub stack at that price, as goofy as it sounds, seems kind of great. Like he's the guy who could hit 2 homers and has only played in Cub stacks. And then other kind of lower mid-tier, Christian Walker and Ryan Mountcastle.
All right, Beimfohr, how about you? Who do you like at first?
Love Michael Busch. It's one of those where he is. So right now we have him at 4% on DraftKings. Obviously, the price is very expensive, and it appears right that the normie, again, in like large field stuff, is like 5K lefty Michael Busch against lefty starter, and it's like, well, he's going to face Alexander one time, and I'm not worried about Alexander. I'm playing him for the other 4 at bats that he gets here. Yeah, I like him. He's definitely going to be, when he's played, only in Cub stack. So I totally agree with Cheese, or like a him and Tucker thing or whatever. But definitely got to shout out the Cubs. Vlad is my favorite first baseman. Eric loves Bush. You said it, not me. Soderstrom, Vlad at the top. Soderstrom and Bush are probably my 3 favorite first basemen. I just don't think I can do Pasquantino on this. I do like the Royals. Like I like the idea of the Royals, I think, more than I like the
That's
the actual
very
Royals.
well said. Very well said. That's
Like,
correct.
I like Bobby Witt. Okay, like I don't like the rest of the Royals is just they're tough clicks on this slate. You know, Kramer. I've been attacking Kramer successfully so far this year, and that's been great. But man, no Salvi. Look at that lineup. It's really rough, and so it's tough. I think he's a really tough play. Obviously, Ohtani and Freddie are awesome. Like I don't need to add much about those guys. And then it hasn't happened yet, but Nick Kurtz is gonna do something sometime eventually for the A's, and everybody's gonna play Soderstrom at first base when you're playing the A's. He's top prospect, hit the absolute out of the ball in the minors, and it hasn't quite totally come to fruition yet in the bigs, and Soderstrom steals the show as he should, but Kurtz is also pretty interesting, right? Kurtz is projecting at 2%, and Soderstrom is projecting at triple that. So I like Kurtz as well, just for a nice little tournament pivot.
All right, take us to second base.
All right, second base. I think Chop was
position.
Chop was talking about Houston before we all came on here, and I really hate playing Jose Altuve, but I also completely understand why he is the top projected option here. One of the only Astros I'm comfortable playing that isn't Yordan Alvarez on a night-to-night basis. I know Pena has moved into the leadoff spot, and I do like him. He made some swing adjustments this year and in the spring that was notable and has turned into a little bit of production. But I do like Jose Altuve. A couple from some teams that I don't generally like, I haven't been necessarily talking about. I don't want to just keep saying Cub, though I do like the Cubs at like every single position. I am an Edward Julian slappy. I've been playing this dude constantly, and every time I see him in like
how's
a reasonable,
that going?
Not great, Bob. Not great. When he came up, I was certain it was going to be when it was Julian and Buxton was healthy, and they got Correa and Royce Lewis was healthy, and you had Larnach and you had Wallner and all this. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to stack the Twins every single day, and that has not quite worked out like I hoped. But he's hitting in in the middle of the order. I'm not a Brian Bayo guy, and I think the lefties in Fenway, I love wrap around the pole a little bit with the lefties there. And then I haven't mentioned the Braves, but like not the Braves. I haven't mentioned like a ton of the Cubs, or no, God damn it, the Dodgers. and there's ways, if you do need to save, right, go all the way down to a Rojas, and like Cheese was mentioning, this position is terrible, and I don't want to save at the first base spot, right? You're gonna forego Vlad, Freddie, Ohtani, even at catcher on DraftKings, you're gonna forego these spend up catchers. It's like, dude, there's like 4 second basemen I'm even interested in playing. If I got to punt it off on my, like premium stack here, I'm willing to do it at second base as opposed to one of the other positions.
All right, Cheese, how about you? Who do you like at second?
No, buddy. Can you rephrase the question in any way?
Who would you play with no other choices, no other options? You're back against the wall. Who do you got at second base?
I can answer that. Thank you. So there is no reason to spend a second. It's terrible. Like, it's so truly bad. So Erik mentioned a few cheap names. I'm fine with all of them. Like the Royals guys are fine. Julian is fine. The guy that saved my day and honestly might be my highest owned hitter on DraftKings is something called Jorbit. Jorbit Divas for the Yankees saved my day. I never thought I would be so happy to see that going on. This guy is not some amazing prospect, but he has pretty good play skills and decent speed, and he's playing for the Yankees. Like, he takes a lot of walks, and he can steal a couple bases, and he's minimum salary. So, to me, second base is the place you just flat out punt. If you have $3,700, I guess I'd play Michael Garcia. But I don't want to spend $3,700. I would rather spend $2,000, and that's just it.
All right, take us to third.
Third is interesting. I think we're going to see Matt Chapman chalk, especially on FanDuel, because of the price and the matchup. I do like Matt Chapman. I'm playing a ton of him on FanDuel, me and everybody else, because he's 2,900. And then where it's super interesting was both with Devers and Jose Ramirez. Like, they're both facing good pitchers. And so it's hard to like spending up, but you do, if you just punt like second base and one outfield spot, if you're playing Hoagland, like, you have money just sitting around. And I would rather play Devers or Ramirez than a third base punt. I prefer Ramirez out of the two of them. But for the most part, I'm just doing the Matt Chapman thing because he's a little cheaper and has the same upside. As far as cheap stuff, Eric's Edward Julian problem is my Brooks Lee problem, and now he's hitting third. So
third today.
Yeah, he's my cheap third baseman.
You're trying to quit drinking, and the people keep handing you beers. Yeah,
yeah. So that's my cheap guy there.
We got a question in chat from J3 asking if I can pronounce Eric's favorite player and my fellow Canadian's name. So I got you, J3. That's Edouard Julien at second base today. Eric, who do you like at third?
Yeah, let the Americans pronounce these names, and we'll really make us sound American as hell when we say them. Yet third base is not particularly good either. Honestly, second and third are two of the positions that I'm like I have some catchers that I like at the top, like Cheese mentioned. You know, Shea being my favorite guy, but the other spend ups are really good. There's a bunch of first basemen I like, which isn't generally the case, honestly. And then second and third is like, oof. You know, I don't love it. So these are the two positions I'm being most open. Chapman is my favorite. I know Senzatella is terrible, right? But I still don't really love stacking the Giants in San Francisco on a huge slate. But right, hunting for one or two Giants that have huge games is more than reasonable. And at a weak position, like Cheese mentioned, he's going to be popular, but it's a huge slate. I can find ways to play up a popular hitter in my lineup, right? I already mentioned that I like a lot of Cubs, and some of them are lower owned. So I think it's totally fine. I did want to shout out, if you are not playing Hoagland, Connor Norby is at third at a weak position for the Marlins. If you know, maybe Hoagland does get their ownership starts to run away a little bit, and you're spending up, and you just want to find a reasonably priced potential leverage option at third base, Connor Norby is the one Marlin that I have some interest in, because I think he's a pretty talented player and could potentially get you some leverage on a cheap Hoagland, and not even just like raw ownership leverage. It's just like you have the spend up pitchers, and if Norby, you know, hits a 3-run home run and you have Joe Ryan as your SP2, you're like beating. You're instantly, it's over for the Hoagland teams, right? You beat them at third base and you beat them at SP2. So I'm pretty into him, but third base is like kind of like the catcher of this position, other than Chapman and then Norby leverage. I'm kind of like, who plays for the team I'm stacking at third base?
Man, I love you, Eric. You just said the word leverage way too many times in a sentence.
I know.
I'm losing it over here. Keep going though. You're doing good.
Take us to shortstop, Eric. What do you like there?
So this is another one where the Giants seems fun, but Willy Adames in San Francisco as the highest owned shortstop on a 12-game slate is a little rough. That's a little rough. You called out Mookie with the Spidey bombs, and I'm very, very, very in on Mookie. Dansby, I'm trying to just pull up my list. A little bit of Dansby. We don't have that lineup yet, do we? Has it dropped?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah,
it did.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
eighth.
yeah. So Dansby's hitting 8th, of course, which is brutal. But again, like absolutely no ownership, and I'm looking to a ton of Cubs tonight. My favorite raw, like just pure in a vacuum, is we talked about the idea of the Royals. Well, I like Bobby Witt more than just an idea at shortstop, and he's kind of my way to. I really like this Royals spot. I just really don't like the Royals at the hitters in the Royals lineup. So, Bobby Witt is like my favorite overall play. And then I did just want to shout out Bo Bichette. We talked about Vlad at first. He's the other Blue Jay that I really, really like. Not particularly into the Blue Jays in general, but Bo Bichette at lower ownership. He's having a little resurgence this year. I'm starting to believe at least a little bit that he's better than what we saw last season. So that's kind of my shortstop pool.
Doing a great job of hitting for contact. I just need this dude to actually hit the
Yeah,
ball out of the park
hit it.
once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Him and Vlad switch places. Vlad's hitting the ball the hard as hell and off the ground, and now Bo Bichette's just hitting a bunch of singles.
Yeah, exactly. Tease, if Erik's getting leverage at third, how are you going to leverage his leverage?
Choose a different name. To call it something else, please. So Cheese is going to not answer your question.
I generally agree with exactly the way Erik said it with Willy Adames. Like, it seems like that should be the play with the salary. But do you really want to play Willy Adames when you have salary and there's Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, Mookie Betts in good matchups? And the answer is no, you don't really want to play Willy Adames on that slate. I certainly have some because the salary's there. And I do have lineups where I want to spend up for 2 pitchers on DraftKings. And then on FanDuel, he's even cheaper. So sure, I'm not saying I don't have any Willy Adames, but I have mostly Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson with Mookie Betts. And we didn't mention Mookie Betts is second base eligible on FanDuel, which is huge. So if you're playing him, play him at second on FanDuel. I'm fine with the other guys. They're mostly in stacks like Pena and Bichette. The other guy we need to mention, I didn't mention him at third, just for small sample of what is happening. Jorge Polanco, the under the hood numbers look so legit. Like, he is hitting like Aaron Judge, basically. It's crazy. Like, I'm having a hard time believing it's real, but I don't see anything in the numbers to tell me it's not real. So I think you should play a little Jorge Polanco.
500 expected WOBA, 534 real WOBA, 463 ISO with a 9.5% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching, and he's crushing left-handed pitching. But I'm just like, what is happening to Jorge Polanco?
Yeah, I have an idea, but I'm not going to discuss it on the show.
He's leveraging something. He's leveraging something.
Yes. But I mean, you can't, when the numbers are what they are, you can't, at some point you can't argue with them until someone
he gets
comes
suspended.
in and stops him. Yeah. So anyhow, that's that position.
Take us to the outfield.
So the 3 super high spend ups are glorious plays. Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Tucker. Wonderful, magical, glorious plays. However, the 4 to 5K range on DraftKings and the low 3K range on FanDuel is also super fantastic and glorious. So I don't think you have to play those guys, because when you get to that salary, the things that they have to do to pay it off, I mean, they can all do it because they're amazing, but I don't, particularly with Ohtani and Tucker, I'm kind of nervous that they just get 3 walks and 3 runs, which is great, but you don't really want that on this slate for $6,000. So those are the top 3 plays. And if you have salary, sure, play them. But I'm not changing everything else in my lineup to make sure I get them. Guys that I have the most of are right around that 4K mark on DraftKings and the 3K mark on FanDuel. We're talking about the Tigers guys with Green and Carpenter, Santander. I didn't actually play much Trent Grisham, but you could throw him in there. On FanDuel, Teoscar Hernandez and Rooker are much cheaper, and Suzuki. They're all priced up a little more on DraftKings, very affordable on FanDuel. Who did I not mention in there? I think that was most of who I wanted to mention. I mean, there's a lot of names. But essentially, I don't actually have that much Ohtani, Judge, or Tucker when I step back and look at it.
Jerry in chat says, this Erik guy is awesome. Couldn't agree more. Erik, who do you like in the outfield?
Well, I do have a lot of Kyle Tucker, so Cheese and I are going to go to battle on that one. I'll substitute the L word for the word slappy that I mentioned before, because I've also been in this one. Also was very painful at Cheese for a very long time, but Trent Grisham was one of my guys in San Diego that it was just endless amounts of money draining from the bank account playing him every single day. And now you feel it's vindication season this year with the Yankees. And I don't actually love the Yankees because, speaking of being a slappy, I'm a Ryan Pepio slappy, and I think he's really good. And so I understand how good the Yankees are. But, I mean, it's one of those, like you said, with Polanco, where, like, I'm not going to bet on Trent Grisham being this insane of a hitter all season. But I would certainly love to find out for 3,900 rather than, paying extreme price, rather than paying the Carson Kelly price, right? Like, I would rather do it now at 3,900. So I do really like Trent Grisham. I don't know that I want to play like one-off 15% owned Trent Grisham, but if I'm stacking the Yankees, he's like a perk of stacking the Yankees, right? At 3,900. Like you mentioned, I think you also have this guy as a Spidey bomb, Kerry Carpenter, hitting leadoff for the Tigers. I know the guys before mentioned that Soriano's a big ground ball pitcher. That's concerning for a Tigers stack. For me, that's not concerning for just Kerry Carpenter, who is an absolute monster against right-handed pitching. And sometimes, I'm not trying to get all nerdy or whatever. Sometimes these like home run uppercut guys can really crush that low sinker. Like the lefties can struggle with a high fastball type guy, and you get a sinker baller in there hitting leadoff. I think I saw that the Angels. They have 4 lefties in their bullpen, but 2 are unavailable. So just a slight fingers crossed better chance at a righty reliever for Carpenter as well. Santander is one of my guys. I've mentioned a bunch of Blue Jays, so maybe I should be playing more Blue Jays, I think, here than I actually am. But I really, really like Santander. And then both Ian Happ and PCA for the Cubs. Like, if we want to save just a little bit of money, the Ian Happ prices. No, he's down to 4,200. The Ian Happ price seems good. Hitting leadoff. PCA showing a little bit more power than I thought that he was going to show this year. I don't know if that's real either, but I'm down to find out, because I know even if the power isn't real, the speed is very real. So a bunch of Cubs in here in the outfield, and kind of some of the other typical candidates that you would expect.
The MLB DFS annual option is $425. However, we dropped the price of our Combo Pro product to mirror the MLB annual package. Might as well get more stuff for the same price, right? Plus, Combo Pro 6 months give you access to our content, tools, and projections for every sport except NASCAR at a cheaper price than the monthly package. You'd actually be saving about 35% by choosing 6 month instead of monthly. Sign up now for MLB projections, NBA content, PGA data, and more. Or you can be sure to check out our Props and Pick'em package for a discount. The Props and Pick'em package features daily prop picks and fantasy pick'em selections from many of your favorite RotoGrinders experts. We're also knocking 50% off the price of your first month when you sign up at the link down below, right there in the descriptions. Let's start taking a look at these QQs. We got about 6 minutes left until lock. Or is it a 5:10 start or a 7:10 start or a 7:05? Yeah, it's 7:05. So about 6 minutes left till lock. Single entry. Eric, what do you think about a Tiger stack?
I don't love the stack. I'm down to home run hunt the Tigers a little bit, because they have some nice power, but I don't love a full stack. There's way too many good bats for 4 or 5 Tigers, I think. Same
boat for me today. Cheese, what do you think about Freddie Fermin at catcher today for a cheap option?
I mean, he's cheap, but like he hits the ball lightly into the ground, so I don't care for him.
Are we playing Gunnar Hedlund today? I have 79%. Eric, I believe you're playing.
He was asking on FanDuel though, so that's a different thing.
FanDuel single entry, no. Hoagland there. DK GPP, Valdez or Ryan with your Cub stack, Eric?
Ryan for me. I mean, Framber's fine. He hasn't been very good this year. I know the White Sox stink, but you still want strikeouts.
Someone asking if they're not crazy for fading Robbie Ray, right? No, you are not crazy. Cheese is doing the exact same thing. Cheese, the people are clamoring in the YouTube chat. They want your home run calls. Who's not going out of the park tonight?
At least somebody wants them. It ain't me. And in non-joking fashion, it's Jordan Beck against Robbie Ray. Let's do the unstoppable Jorge Polanco. And all these, I feel like I'm joking, but I'm being very serious with all these guys. I'm just gonna do what the numbers say to do. Carson Kelly.
Oh God, I was gonna say Carson Kelly. We're screwed. We're all screwed.
Give us your home run picks, Erik.
Okay, I can't believe I got Carson Kelly sniped from me in the home run calls, but I'm also, God, this is pathetic. I'm gonna also say a Rocky. So we're on multiple Rockies home runs here. Brenton Doyle. I like a Brenton Doyle home run. I'll just keep it simple with the Cubs then and say Kyle Tucker. We'll just roll with Kyle Tucker and Kerry Carpenter. So I'm also on the same page with TJ.
FanDuel Cash Cheese, you want neither, but the leadoff guy for the White Sox, Meyergroth, however you say his name, or Ryan McMahon?
Did you say in cash?
It says FanDuel Cash, 2,200.
Oh my gosh, no. Oh my goodness. I guess Meadroth, but no.
Meadroth, that makes more sense. Eric Peter Porker is asking if I have to fade one Cub, which should it be, Tucker, Kelly, or Bush?
Well, I think Kelly's gonna hit a home run, but fade him. I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yes, Kelly,
it's true.
I just can't, dude. He's $5,200 on DraftKings. That's insanity.
Altuve and Alvarez or Lee okay. Alvarez or Jung-Ho Lee in a San Francisco stack that also has Altuve, Dave.
Alvarez.
One starting pitcher and stack to take down a FanDuel single entry, or it doesn't say single entry, just one starting pitcher and stack to take down a tournament on FanDuel. Erik?
Joe Ryan in the Cubs is easy, but I also like the Blue Jays.
DK Soderstrom or Michael Busch, Cheese?
Both pretty great plays. I prefer Busch.
Erik, what do you think about the White Sox going against Valdez today, who, I don't know, like I feel like it's too big of a slate for that.
Too big of a slate. Probably about a 4-gamer is too big for a White Sox stack, but 12-gamer, yeah. No, thank you.
Cheese, Bassett and Judge or Skubal and Yordan?
Skubal and Yordan.
I'm landing on Paredes at third on DK single entry with my Dodgers stack. What are your thoughts, Erik?
That seems fine.
1 minute left to lock. Make sure you get your lineups in. Hammer says, I can't watch the Cubs tonight because the game is on Apple TV. WTF is that? Who the hell is Apple TV? I gotta tell you, if you don't have Apple TV, you gotta get it, because some of the very best shows on television are on Apple TV. Ted Lasso, Shrinking.
Yeah,
Never.
In all seriousness, not to do a commercial for Apple TV, but I watch any show that comes on there. I don't even look. I just watch it because their stuff has been so good.
Yeah,
I did not know they were streaming Cubs games now, though.
Yep, I get the notification. Apparently, so the Cardinals games are on FanDuel Sports Network, but apparently they're also on Apple TV because they send me a notification every single time. I will just say that the streaming stuff is absolutely out of control with the local stuff. It's the NBA playoffs. I'm in St. Louis, mind you. I can't watch the Pacers when they're on NBA TV because it's blacked out in St. Louis. The Grizzlies games were also. Grizzlies and Pacers are black. I can watch Bulls games, but I can't watch Grizzlies and Pacers when they're on NBA TV. So I feel your pain about the Cubs being on Apple TV. I don't know what's going on with all these services.
Dean says, haven't started the studio on Apple yet, but here it's excellent. It is. I will say it's one of those shows that, like, the type of comedy makes me really uncomfortable at times because it's like somebody just being really stupid and just doing something that's like really socially unaware, like Michael Scott-esque almost, and it's like, oh, but it's still absolutely hilarious. Cheese, Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani is a one-off?
Wow. Judge. I'm going with that theory that Ohtani more likely to get walked. Take the guy who's slightly better chance of a home run, even though overall he's facing a better pitcher.
DK, GPP, Yamamoto, and Kelly, Carson Kelly or Scooball and Cal Raleigh, Eric?
What? There's never been a show with this much Carson Kelly talk ever. Scooball rally.
Lone Wolf DFS says he's in New Mexico and they blackout games and we don't even have a team. That'll do it for today's MLB Grinders Live and Crunch Time. Will be back tomorrow and Sunday for some more. I don't know exactly when tomorrow's show is yet, if it's going to be for the early slate or the evening slate, but stay tuned. That's why, in addition to hitting the like button, you want to hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our shows. It'll be myself, Cards, and Chief for that one, and then myself, Cards, and Britt for the Sunday show. Dave, Eric, great show. Thanks for joining me today. On behalf of you guys, on behalf of me, on behalf of everybody at RotoGrinders, thank you for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace.